Welcome to Finding Bravery. Creating a life that you want and the version of you that you know is the best one possible takes bravery. And so together, we're going to find it. My name is Crystal Earle, and I am so glad you're here. Hey there, welcome to the Finding Bravery show today. Today you're going to be meeting Lanre Obey. In the early 2000s, Lanre was incarcerated, and at the beginning of staring down a life sentence, he was faced with a decision. His infant daughter was going to grow up without knowing her father, and the pain that caused him was almost overwhelming. So he made a choice. He decided that he was going to be proactive in pursuing a relationship with her, and the result was what has come to be known as the 27th letters. The reason that Lanre ended up in that place is heartbreaking and very real. It's unique to him, but it's the story of pain. It's the story of trying to function in a world that seems like it's not always got your best interests at heart. But more than that, his story is one of finding redemption and of ultimately uncovering the bravery to continue to keep your eyes on hope. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome back to Finding Bravery. Today my guest is Lanre Obey. Lanre, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Crystal?
I am so good, and it's really great to have you on the show today. So, Lanre, I don't even know if I told you this, but how I discovered you was I was checking out what time the free salsa lessons were at the Lula Lounge.
Oh, yeah?
And then I went on the site, and they're like, there's no salsa lessons tonight because there's a book launch party.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is a better deal. So, and it was your book that they were talking about. So, Lanre, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share your story around your book and around what got you to this place right now and where we're having this conversation. So, Lanre, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Well, I mean, I guess I could go as far back as when I first arrived in quote unquote Canada, Toronto. Was 1988. I was 10 years old. Myself and my mother migrated here from Nigeria, and my dad had lived here for many years prior to that. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of established here, but so when myself and my mom moved here, and then just going through that transition from one country to the next, and then just adjusting to a new country was a little challenging, but I adapted fairly. And went to elementary school, grade 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here, and then I went to high school. While I was in high school, actually before I got to high school, I had issues at home that needed to be addressed as far as my mother's health. And even prior to that, I had issues with my father because, as you already know, like I said, I was 10 years old when I came. So, we had challenges in just coexisting, and that often resulted early on in me getting beaten by my father, So, and one occasion I ended up in children's aids custody for like three months because of him beating me. I got taken into care. But, so I feel like those things were like factors in part of the journey that brought me to what ended up got me incarcerated to where I had to write a book and whatnot. And along with that, my mom's illness and their union was fracturing because of her her illness and whatnot. So by the time I got to high school, he was almost out of the house. As far as my dad was almost out of the house, so I had to deal with my mother's illness, and also by that time I had 2 younger siblings, so I had to help out a lot with them too. And high school, again, that was another adjustment that I had to make, going from elementary school to high school, and that was difficult within itself too. Okay, what was going on at home, and then just high school, just the amount of insecurities you got to deal with, the personalities you got to deal with. So that was challenging within itself. And I went to all boys school, so the testosterone was extra high.
Yeah. No kidding.
So yeah, so you can imagine the ego. So anyways, you know, um, you know, a couple of the friends I hung around with would get ourselves into problems, get into trouble, but nothing really serious. Like the only issue we really had was, we go joyriding and stolen cars, and that got me in trouble with the law. And prior to that, I mean, I had no issues with the law, but in high school, just getting installing cars and whatnot. And I started off high school kind of negligent uh, in my studies, but with what was going on at home, I just had to really focus. So a lot of the shenanigans that I was up to early on in high school, by the time I finished, I had stopped all that because I had to concentrate on my home life, and I graduated as a role model of the high school that I went to, New McNeil High School, by the time I finished. So, it was a rough beginning, but by the end of it, it was great. I even won a humanitarian award at my graduation, which was kind of funny because I had no plans of going, but I guess the school knew I was going to win this award. They prompted me to come to the graduation, and I was like, no. And then they offered that they would buy, I mean, they'll rent a tux for me, which was a big selling point, I guess. So I kind of offer and say, hey, you know what? If you're gonna rent a tux for me, might as well rent a tux for my friend. So I had my friend, come with me, and he was graduating as well, and he had not planned on going, but since he heard I was gonna go, he was gonna get a tux rented for him. We went. So that was pretty cool. Just finding out at graduation that I won that award. That was really cool. And then by graduated, and like I said, like in the middle of high school, I started working at McDonald's. So by the end of it, I was still working at McDonald's, and I worked at McDonald's for like a year or so after high school. Because I mean, for most high school students, graduates, the next step would be to go to college or university. But I really didn't have that option because of my home life. Like, it really needed my attention. So the only thing I could really do was just earn money. So after McDonald's, I worked at another restaurant as a prep manager, and then yeah, I think I worked there for like a year and a half or so. And at this point, I mean, though we've moved since we got to Canada, we moved quite a few times. So like at least 3 or 4 times by the time I got to finished high school. So at this point, we're living in the east end of the city of Toronto, and a few in 2001, my daughter was born. January 2001. Me and my high school girlfriend, we were both out of high school, and ironically, we were both working in that restaurant that I became a prep manager. She became pregnant shortly after we were working there, and then we had a daughter, Tatiana, and again, like I said, my home life demanded my attention. And as time went on, like I didn't get any assistance from my dad or anything like that. So it was really all on me. My mother's condition continued to worsen, and on top of that, she started drinking to compound the problem, the issues that she had.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple of times where we nearly got evicted because of her drinking. And then even Children's Aids got involved again, this time with my siblings because of her drinking, because she showed up to their school one day trying to pick them up while she was drunk. So I had to deal with Children's Aids opening a file on us. I had to make sure my daughter, who lives with her mother, in another home, and my home, my work. So, I had a lot on my plate early on. So by 2002, I don't think I know actually I wasn't handling the stuff that life was throwing at me well. And in August 2002, an altercation that I got into resulted in somebody passing away, and then that got me incarcerated uh, on August 2002, August 27th, 2002. I got arrested for second degree murder, and yeah, and at that point, I mean, like my mom was left alone. You know, my siblings, I believe, were in children's aid uh, custody at that point. And then, so a lot of things were just falling apart. And the first year of me being incarcerated, while I was still in the city fighting this case, I was able to maintain a relationship with my daughter. But like she was only a year and a half by the time I got locked up. So, but over time, her mother and I it was just became difficult to contact her, and so I could speak to my daughter. So while I was incarcerated, then I got convicted. I actually got convicted in 2004, April 2004, and sentenced to serve a life sentence without a possibility of parole after till 12 years. So so there was incarcerated. Don't know where my siblings are, who like mean very much to me. My daughter, who means the world to me, I've lost any contact with her or any, you know. So a lot of things I just fallen through my hands. And on top of that, my mom, because nobody was there to, as a safety net to make sure certain things are in order, she became homeless actually. She became homeless, and it was really difficult. The period of 2003, 4, 5, and maybe 6 were very difficult for me. I think those were the years where I really had to dig deep and figure out my spiritual growth. You know what I mean? Really helped me grow. So, but because I couldn't get a hold of my daughter, I was sharing this frustration with a friend of mine. This was by that time it was 2005, early 2005 or late 2005. I was sharing this frustration with a friend of mine who was also incarcerated, and he told me to start writing my daughter, and I didn't think it was possible, even feasible, because somebody would have to read the letter to her. So her mom would have to read the letter to her if I did write her, and I wasn't too sure how her mom felt, like her how where she stood and where we stood, anyways. You know, we weren't together. That was obvious, but it was just I didn't know if she would support me, support reading the letter to her. So, but I took the chance and started writing the letter in 2005. My first letter I wrote was 2005. She's a New Year's baby, so I wrote it in December 2005. And the letter, I think, the first letter was about the day she was born, and it was dated the 27th of December. And I kind of kept up with that same practice and sent her a letter once a month and always dated the 27th of that month, and then, hence the name 27th letters. So I kept up writing her till I won my appeal in 2010. I won my appeal in 2010, and then I came home shortly after, in April 23rd, 2010. So shortly after I got out, I had no real plans of turning the letters into a book, but it's just the way the world has become, and where as you know, with custody battles and parents breaking up and whatnot, I just felt like this book would serve as a reminder of what's important to everybody. That at the end of the day, is the children that's really important. No matter what you're going through, no matter where you are, position you're in, your children have to have a certain type of attention given to them, and there's a certain diplomacy that comes with dealing with your children. You know what I mean? As parents, and parents that may not be together, and are co-parenting, and just finding it difficult. And in general, just for anybody in any difficult situation, not to give up, because I could have easily given up, but I had this yearning to connect with my daughter because I really didn't know what the future held for me.